It's like going around the church saying you're my wife.
We know.
Yeah, because people do that to manipulate.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be confirmed on both sides. I said
Yes,
that, but my wife had a name.
What's up? This is No Big Deal representing Middle Tennessee and Indie Tribe. You are now in the field with the Trackstarz.
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz. Ryan Righteous, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. What's good?
All right, this episode is sponsored by True Strength Apparel. Make sure you go to www.truestrengthapparel.com. Check out the gear, man. Now that we're moving into warmer weather, you can get the tank tops, you can get the T-shirts, you can get all the different colors you like to rock for the spring. So make sure you check out truestrengthapparel.com. And then always, for all things Trackstarz, go to www.trackstarz.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram at Trackstarz, Twitter at Trackstarz. Make sure you're signing up for Nectar.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yes.
If you don't have your Nectar submissions in yet, make sure you do that.
So, big news. I told the Trackstarz universe this. There's a ton more announcements. I'm going to do them one at a time, like a drip. But we just signed a direct deal with Vivo.
Vivo,
so
yeah.
all the people that want a Vivo account, we have admin access to make everybody in Nectar a Vivo account, put up official videos, all that kind of stuff. So I'm working on everybody that's already in. I'm making them a Vivo account now. So you'll be able to send us music videos soon.
Also, visit the website, nectar.trackstarz.com. It is blowing up. We're adding more artists each week. You can see the artists that are already on the site if you go under the artist profile. And then we've got some great deals for artists that want to keep most of their royalties. I mean, that's just one of the things. People want to keep their royalties. So check out what we have. And then Trackstarz is your one-stop shop for all things. People don't realize it, but we can take an artist from the very beginning and bring them all the way to the top. We can do their music video. We can provide them with beats. We can provide them with graphics for their website. We can also get them distribution now. We can also advertise for them on our Instagram page, our Twitter page, our Facebook page, YouTube, everything. So an artist can start with us and they can end with us. And that's what they need to know mostly about Trackstarz and Nectar. We're the one-stop shop for artists to do everything. Music videos. Get your song played. We can even help connect you with features if that's something you're looking for. So we have some networks, and then over 100 stations, outlets.
All right. So today only 20% off album covers and single covers. Our graphic designer Rafael Rodriguez, he did my album cover. All the artwork you're seeing from the Wonder Years project. He's done a lot of other people's albums.
Our new logo?
Yeah, man. Our new logo, everything. So if you want him to design your cover, hit us up. 20% off today only. All right, so I want to get to this real quick. So we've been having a debate amongst the team because we have some really big decisions ahead of us that we got to make. And the real question is, okay, when you have to make a decision and it's not like one is the godly answer and one isn't. They both seem okay, right? How do you know for sure which one God is telling you to do? And is it okay to ask for a sign, to lay out the fleece? So it'd be in the Bible. Is it okay to do that, or is that a lack of faith? Should you just move on what you feel is the voice, or should you test it and make sure?
So I'll give you an example, a real quick one. So everybody knows I took off 365 days to try to run Trackstarz full time. That's what my wife gave me, right? And then we got pregnant, and I started saying, no, we need to go back to work, need to put food on this table and make things happen again. And so I started applying to jobs. Right, and probably the second place I applied called me in for the interview, and it was the job that I wanted. Like when I was filling out the application and reading, I was like, this is me, this is my lane. And I started praying then, like, God, this is your will, let this happen, let this happen for me. And so, before the interview, I think I fasted and prayed and just went through my whole cycle of, God, show me that this is your will. But the offer letter was me accepting that this was God's will for me, right? Because the offer letter came within 3 days of the interview. And I was just like, well, I knew I needed to go back to work. I know why I'm going back to work. God knows I'm not giving up on Trackstarz. I'm just going to do it at night like I used to. And so for me, that was my sign, and then the company was called Year Up. So I asked for 365 days to do Trackstarz, and then I get hired with a company that's called Year Up.
Yes. Okay. Good. You added something. So there's two schools of thought on this. Ryan's school of thought is, if I ask God to ruin it if it's not of you, right? Then that means if it works in Ryan's mind, then it must be okay, right?
Pray without ceasing.
Or is it because there's some people who get what they want, but it's still not of God, right? Drake gets what he wants, but you wouldn't say that he's being, God is like approving of his life, right? So how do you know for sure, just because it worked, that that's what he wanted?
Well, I told you that for me, I knew what was at stake. I had to get back to work because I had a baby coming 3 months later. So for me, I knew that I had been praying about this from the day I left my last job. So it's prayer without ceasing. So as long as you're aligned with the prayer and you're continuing not to give up on God and not to question like what he's doing in the hard, tough seasons, I think I'm just walking out the purpose of what I was supposed to be doing.
You're just confident that if you took the job and it wasn't supposed to happen, that he would mess it up if necessary, right? You would lose it or something would happen.
No, because I wouldn't have wanted to get that far. I would have asked God in advance to let something happen at the offering. Like if they had offered me $10,000-$15,000 less than what I was willing to take, then I would have been like, oh, yeah, it's not for me. And that would have been enough of a sign.
So the circumstances are
the
your yeses or
circumstances
nos
had
in
to
your
be
mind.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the same as a sign?
I don't know. What is it?
I think so.
I think so.
I think so.
Because
If you're saying if it's $10,000 less than this, I won't take it. Then that sounds
10,000
He
less
asked
than
for a
what
sign,
right?
what I
Asking for a
needed,
sign.
what I required.
right. But
Yeah.
that's a would that
So here's what I'm trying to get at. You're basically saying because it seemed to fit exactly what you were looking for, and because the name of the company seemed to be saying something to you, that was confirmation for you. Is that 100% correct for everyone in that situation? Or do some people take something that they think God wants for them and they're wrong?
I think that happens too.
I think some people take what they want and ask God for it.
and say it was God.
And say it was God.
Yeah.
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 And how do you
And
know?
manipulation of the
That's
flesh.
like you said, prayer. You gotta pray because I think a lot of times we know whether we're ready for something or whether something is totally from God, but we ignore all those signs.
Yeah. I think. Oh, go ahead.
My bad. I was just gonna say because if you think about it, a lot of times after it happens, you be like, I knew. Most of the time, you can look back and say, I knew. I did it anyway, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, so you've taken jobs before
Yes.
that didn't work out. Was that a shouldn't have done that, or was it
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah,
So you feel
because-
like you didn't. And this is I'm just trying to get that
Yeah.
because Christians talk about this all the time, and they're very like, it's very rosy expectation of what this should be like. But people are going through decisions today, right? So, as a recommendation, how do you know whether something was a mistake or it's because you could frame any situation however you want, right? You could say the job you took that didn't work out was, well, God wanted me to deal with that because da 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 da.
Yeah.
Or you could frame it as, oh, I didn't hear correctly and I messed up.
It didn't line up with my calling. So when I got laid off from Radio 1, right, that was when we had just started this. I got laid off at Radio 1 in 2009. We started this in 2007. We started doing radio in 2007. So for me, that was part of my calling. Ever since I was 12 years old, I heard the voice of God tell me I was going to do radio. But then when I got to the point, the day after I got laid off, I sat down in front of my computer and I was like, God, what am I going to do now? And he said, you're going to be a recruiter. And I was like, oh. And I applied for jobs for recruitment, but didn't get it. And I had enough severance where I didn't have to go back to work for at least another 8 months. But I took a job at a call center because a church member was like, I'm in management there, and I thought it would be easy to get in. And I took the job, and 4 weeks later, when I got through training, the day they were giving out, offer letters, I turned mine down because it wasn't my calling. I hated every minute of it. And that's how I knew I jumped into something without asking God, because I had the severance. And when I took that job, it wasn't severance, it was unemployment. When I took that job, all that went away, all that unemployment went away. And I got stuck doing something I hated. And so when I left that job, I ended up going to work for somebody who had an independent T-Mobile store, and they never paid me. So I worked 4 months, never got paid, and got to the point where I started to lose my house, started to lose my car. It wasn't of God.
But circumstantially, that's how you figured that out. If it's not working out, it's not of God. If it's working out, it is.
No, because it didn't align with my calling. God never said go to a call center and try to make it in sales. He never said that to me. But he did tell me to go off and be a recruiter. So the next job I got, I told God I wanted to go back to school and get my master's. I got a job as a recruiter making more money than I ever made in my life, and they paid for my master's.
I mean, I have some feelings. So people on the call, they heard me, and I was very adamant about, asking God for signs. But then Sean sent me this article kind of talking about, I guess the negatives of that, because the Bible does talk about different instances where people did ask God to, send a sign. But there's a verse, and I can't remember which one it was. I believe it was in, I can't remember. But it was basically, I think maybe Matthew, where Jesus says like the generation who asks for signs is wicked, and he's talking to the Pharisees. I believe. I could be wrong on that part, but so that made me think, because I was like, okay, God, I don't know, and I haven't fully figured that whole thing out, because Jesus did the miraculous, right? Like, he clearly showed himself, and like Revelation talks about that there will be signs of the Savior coming, and the thing that I kept thinking about when we were talking about signs, and I was like, yeah, like God can do it, like he can show himself, like he's more than capable of showing you what to do and which direction to go. But I kept thinking about Thomas, right? How he said, like, I can't believe unless I see it, unless I feel the holes in your hands, right? Yeah. And then Jesus says, like, he says, take your hand, feel the hole, but he's like, for those who, see, you can see and believe, but it's better to have faith, right? To walk by sight. And for those who haven't seen but believe. Mm-hmm. So for me, that challenged me. And I don't think it's saying that it's, by thinking of that particular scenario, I don't think it's saying that like we shouldn't ever do it, but rather like God is willing because he realizes our weakness, but it is better to trust and walk in faith and not have to always do that.
Are we saying like signs are questioning God?
No, I'm talking about specific signs.
No, I'm talking about in general. Are we saying signs in general?
No, I wouldn't
like
say.
Like you're questioning God.
No, I don't think it's necessarily questioning, because I don't think God minds us questioning him. He'll quickly answer and respond. But I think in a sense, when I was reading this article, it's basically saying, I can't remember, what was the guy who did the fleece? What was was it Gideon? Gideon. So saying God already spoke to him and said, this is what you should do. And he said, okay, God, if this is really, because he was fearful, if this is really what you want me to do, then do this. And then he did it again. He asked him again.
He laid out a fleece, I guess like a shea rug or whatever, on the grass and said, I want the fleece to be wet in the morning and the grass to be dry. And it was. He did it again. He said, I'm not sure. Let me do it one more time. And he's like, now I want the fleece to be dry and the grass to be wet. And it was. So it was basically like, do this thing for me so I know it's you. Is that okay or not? Because it said that God was patient with him. When I hear patience, I hear annoyed, but okay, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want God to have to be patient with me. So I want to make sure I get this process right. And some of the scolding around this was related to belief, but I don't know if that specifically applies to a decision that's not clearly good or bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right, where you're not sure.
God, give me a sign to believe in you. Like that's a belief issue. That's a trust issue. Mm-hmm. It's God, I really want to hear you. Should I go here or there type decision, where either one is not clearly wrong or right.
What happens if he gave you the decision and you're like, I still want to sign?
That's the part that's
and this is why it matters, because I see Christians fall into different camps in this, but there's also an enemy, right? Your heart, your deceitful heart. And there's an actual enemy. Right. So the fear for a Christian, I think, that's really trying to do this right is, God, I don't want to be deceived, because I've seen so many people say that they are so deep with the Lord and say this and that, and then they make a decision that ruins their life because they were too prideful about how close they were to God. Yeah. They overestimated their closeness. And I don't want to be that guy. I want to know exactly what you want. So I don't think the concern is bad to get it right. I just know that there's Christians that fall into the just walk and he'll fix it for you as you go, or don't move until you hear an answer, then go. There's Christians that fall into all those different camps, and I just it's gonna take too long to figure it out now. But I want everybody to go have a Bible study about this week, and we're gonna come back and readdress it because I want people to be prepared for it.
I got a question for Mal. So Mal, when we were talking to you at Flavor Fest and we were talking about hearing all the things that you had planned, right? I kept thinking if Mouth goes anywhere, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be ridiculous. People are gonna come out of the woodworks to try to work with you, right? How did you know your situation was where God wanted you to go, where you are right now, and what you're doing?
Like you said, call. When you know what God has called you to do, and I think a lot of times is number one, us knowing God. It's the condition of your relationship with God on a personal level, and then it's you allowing God to show you, so you know you, so you know, okay, I'm weak in this area, and I know this is what God is saying for me. You got to know both of them, because if you discredit God or ignore God, you'll get the best of yourself, and end up in a bad situation. As far as label deals, record deals, things of that nature, I've always had offers. I've always had people getting at me. It was important for me to connect with somebody that had the same heart, that believed the same things, and that had a mission, that they already had a call on their life to do some of the same things. And that's what really sold it for me, because I know I couldn't get with somebody that would pigeonhole or say we really don't believe that, I just couldn't do that. So
was there ever a time where you were like, I want this, Lord, I want this, and you wanted it, but God was like, nah, this ain't right for you. No.
I've had times when God has done that, and I did it anyway, and messed up. I'll be honest with you. I said it in some of my past records. I don't know if I said it in a while, but I was married before. I was married for 6 months. The marriage lasted 6 months. All those 6 months, I was totally in the flesh. It was not God. Now, like you said, people will say, "Oh no, you just didn't do what you were supposed to do. How you gonna say it wasn't God?" No, I know it wasn't God.
Wow.
But after that, I didn't date. It was a little bit over 2 years. I didn't date. I tried to go out on a date one time, and I heard the Spirit of God say, and this was en route to picking her up, and the Spirit of God said, "You will not go out." And then 5 minutes later, she called me and canceled. What I'm saying is, after that, I didn't want to make a mistake so bad. I just said, God, I will not make a mistake no more. I'm standing in your face. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. The very next woman that I met and dated was my wife. I go a whole nother step further. When I met my wife, all right, I knew she was my wife within a week. I knew she was my wife. Now people are like, how you say, man, you're my wife. People say that's crazy, but I knew it because number one, I was so scared to mess up again. And then number two, I know I had been in God's face. So if he was pushing me to go in a certain direction, at that point, I was sensitive in my spirit enough to know his voice, number one. Then number two, my wife had already received the prophetic word. She said it was prophesied to her that you're about to meet your husband. Yeah. And y'all's connection has a lot to do with your destiny and your call. Wow. And then God spoke to my wife, Houston. She didn't know it was my last name. So we was on the phone one time, and she said, and I said, I believe you're my wife. I really believe this is within a week now. I'm giving y'all the real. This is within a week. I said, I believe you're my wife. I just had this feeling. And she said, no. She said, I believe that my destiny is in Houston. She didn't know my last name. I said, my last name is Houston. She dropped the phone crying. We've been together ever since. God gives signs.
Okay, we got to talk real quick.
What?
Okay.
Drop the mic.
How do we decipher what you said, because that's an amazing testimony, versus the dude that's like going around the church saying, you're my wife?
We know.
Yeah, because people do that to manipulate.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be confirmed on both sides. I said that, but my wife had a name to go with it.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? It's going to be confirmed. And like the statement she made, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Miracle. It's okay.
Miracle, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Like the statement that Miracle made, even when you look at in the context of that scripture when he says, a wicked generation will ask for signs. They was trying to get these people to believe Jesus was who he was.
Right.
But we got to look at the small, intricate details of our life. God will give you signs in these small, intricate details of your life. But what he will not do is continue to give you signs for you to believe him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
Yeah. So I don't like, cause somebody asked, like, basically, this is all well and good, but what if you got to make a decision right now? So we do need to talk, but you're gonna have to wait a week. So you in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ J. Push it back a week.
Yeah, we got to get Mouth to bring his wife in.
You in the field.